Well, crypto is going down on us today and not in a good way. But what the heck is going on and how low can we go? Over the past couple of days, me and everybody else in the crypto space has been talking about this symmetrical triangle that Bitcoin was trading in. And we said that basically, whenever it breaks out of this, we might be going for a pretty significant leg higher as long as we can get above the previous all time high here. But unfortunately, we did get rejected below there. And like I said yesterday, we needed to see some volume come in, which really just didn't happen. And something else that I didn't actually realize is that we had a CME gap right here, which all of these things put together pretty much means that there was no other option but for us to come and retrace down and pretty much to fill this gap. And since we haven't even filled it yet, we might even come back down a little bit lower, down to about $68,000 or so. As long as we don't make a lower low here and break down from this upward trending support line, then I think we're still going to continue to the upside. It just looks like the pump is going to be delayed a little bit. We're just 10 days away from the halving according to Watcher Guru, and on the chart here, that's indicated by this yellow line. So we could still come down here and trade within this symmetrical triangle just a little while longer until we get closer to the halving date. But a lot of people have been saying this is going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news situation, so if we do have a little bit of a cool off going into it, then I think that means that we might even have a sell the rumor, buy the news situation. This big red channel right here is indicating the Bitcoin production cost, and I've gone over this indicator before, but what it means is that the cost is going to double whenever the halving happens because the halving is the reward for the blocks being cut in half, and that basically signifies the bottom for where we can dip to. Sometimes it will dip below that a little bit, but it pretty much always sees it as a floor. And whenever this production cost doubles, that means that the floor price is going to be here where I put this red line at about $60,000. And worst case scenario, we could come down to there before we pump again. And the bull market would still be on because we wouldn't be making a lower low necessarily. And it could just turn this symmetrical triangle into a bull flag before we go shooting back off to the upside. I don't really think we're going to make it all the way down to $60,000. And personally, I think that's pretty much what we were doing back here whenever we previously got down to about $60,000. We were basically turning the production cost after the next halving into support before we continued to the upside. We're just way ahead of schedule like I've been talking about. Charts aside though, it looks like the reason fundamentally why we might be dipping is because a lot of people are panicking over GBTC sending 4,100 Bitcoin to its Coinbase premium account, meaning that they might actually sell $292 million worth of Bitcoin today. Here you can see the transactions with them moving 173, 760, and several other transactions to their Coinbase account. And while I'm not sure if they've sold it and actually turned it back into US dollars yet or gave it to BlackRock basically, this definitely is an indication that they're probably trying to offload a little bit more Bitcoin. But I'm pretty sure that BlackRock is going to continue buying it all up. And pretty soon, BlackRock is going to have more Bitcoin than Grayscale actually does in their ETF, with Grayscale currently having 322,000 Bitcoin and BlackRock being at 264,000 Bitcoin. I'm not sure if this is taking into account the amount that was moved recently or today actually onto Coinbase. But either way, it looks like BlackRock only has a couple $1 billion to go because they have $18 billion and Grayscale's Bitcoin is only worth $22 billion. Pretty soon, people are only going to be paying attention to the insane amount of Bitcoin that BlackRock is scooping up. And as Grayscale continues to sell off, I guess they're probably just going to have less and less of a percentage and they're not going to have as much of an effect on the price. But for now, we still might have to come down here as Grayscale probably does sell that Bitcoin that they moved to Coinbase and will probably fill this gap up all the way, so that might bring Bitcoin down to about $68,000 and we could wick a little bit below that. But in my opinion, this is nothing but a great buying opportunity because none of this changes the fact that the government is just printing trillions of dollars all the time and they're devaluing our currency against everything, and that includes Bitcoin. Speaking of the government, tomorrow we're getting the CPI readings, which I guess people are also concerned about. And it looks like we're expecting 3.4% year-over-year CPI increase, with the previous being 3.2%. And that means that basically it looks like we're expecting inflation to start heating up again. This would mean that maybe the Fed isn't going to do those rate cuts that everybody was hoping for, but I still think that if the Fed doesn't lower interest rates soon, then we're going to have a real big problem because it's going to become harder and harder to service the debt on the national debt that we've been accumulating because of the government's inability to stop spending money. We also have the FOMC meeting minutes coming out tomorrow. And if there's anything in there that indicates the Fed might be trying to put off that rate cut a little bit longer, then it could be negative for markets, but it is an election year and there's really just no way that they're going to be able to do anything else but print a just crap ton of money. Currently, it looks like we're expecting a 97% chance of them staying with the rate pause in the next meeting, and then there's about a 50-50 chance of a rate cut in June. Yesterday, it was pretty much exactly 50-50, but it's moved up to 56% that we're going to see a rate cut, and maybe that's because of the rising risk of geopolitical tensions or people expecting the corporate real estate issue to cause some kind of a banking crisis. I don't know, you can take your pick of the fear-mongering that the traditional media puts out, but with the idiots that are running our government, I'm sure there's some kind of catastrophe coming. It's just a matter of time. As I mentioned before, a lot of people are expecting that the halving event could be a buy the rumor, sell the news situation, and some people are also starting to raise concerns about the old sell in May and walk away situation as well. Which a lot of times that is a really great strategy because you can just kind of enjoy the beginning of the year gains and leave through the summer lull as people take their summer vacations and then come back for the end of the year pump and the Santa rally. And in bear markets particularly, this is a really great strategy, but as I also mentioned before, this is an election year. Here we have the Bitcoin monthly returns on CoinGlass, and I've highlighted the years that are election years here as far as the historical data goes here on CoinGlass. Bitcoin has obviously been around since 2009, but it pretty much follows the same trend. If it's not an election year and it's not a bull market, then if you sell in May, then you might miss out on some of these 29% dumps, and you could save yourself a whole lot of money. Back in 2021, we even saw a 35% dump in May, and it didn't do much better in June. It only dumped about 6%, but it still wasn't in the green. But then if you buy back in July, you could have gained a 18% and followed that up with a 13.8% in August. And then in October, you would have enjoyed a full 40% almost. But if we look at the month of May, you can see that it's almost 50-50 here, with there being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red months of May in this historical data, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green months of May in this historical data. Those green months were, as you might have guessed, probably in a bull market, and if you followed the sell in May, walk away strategy in these situations, you would have missed out on a 40% pump, a 52% pump, another 52% pump, and a 10 and an 18% pump as well. These are really significant gains, and these also line up with obviously the bull market and the election year. In 2016, there was an 18.7% pump in May, and then the next month in June, there was a 27% pump. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not trying to miss out on those kinds of gains. Like I said, it's an election year, and there's really no other choice but for the Biden regime to try to buy some votes by printing a whole bunch of money. It's not just the Democrats that do this, it's the Republicans as well, and everybody does that to try to get reelected whenever there's an election coming up. It's just the way that politics work. This devalues the dollar against all assets, including Bitcoin. So I'm not going to be selling in May and walking away. I'm going to be holding on because I think that this is going to be a really great year for gain. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is this just the beginning of the summer lull, or is this the dip before the biggest rip? Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you got value. But most importantly, don't forget to do only good every day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.